Every once in a while, I like to just sit down and catch up with all of you, and there have been so many different small things or just individual things related to photography, life, inspiration, all of these things that I've wanted to share throughout the summer, but I've barely had time to even think about how to share, so let's catch up today. Having a functional darkroom out here in the barn is still quite a while away. I still have a lot of work that needs done before I can even start planning for that. However, I have been making a lot of prints this summer, both on the Epson P900 and the Sun. It had been years since I had made any cyanotypes, and I have just fallen back in love with the process. It was actually the gel plate process that got me interested in getting back into cyanotypes, because for me, with any sort of alternative process to printmaking, I'm much more likely to accept the results for what they are and not necessarily be, upset if things don't turn out the way I expect them to, or if I just don't get a result at all. It's a nice balance, Again, the Epson P900, I've been using that a ton, and it's been incredible. However, any sort of troubleshooting and just trying to figure out what went wrong in the process with an inkjet printer and working with computers and software and firmware, I plan on making sort of a 1-year review with the Epson P900, just sharing my experience with it so far. It hasn't all been sunshine and rainbows, and you'll see more of that in the full video. However, overall, I've just really enjoyed putting it to work this summer. I've been making a ton of prints, especially from the paper mill project, not only on actual photo paper, but printing on the paper from the paper mill, from the very last roll. I actually printed some color for the very first time on that yellow paper that is not meant to make prints with, but on the color, especially because in the image with the green and yellow of the paper machine, it really just kind of pops, and I actually love the way that looks. So, and even for printing the digital negatives for the cyanotypes, I print those on transparency film with the P900. So it's just been a workhorse this summer. I have really put it through its paces, and yeah, printing in general, regardless of how they're made, I've just been having fun interacting with the work physically that way a lot this summer. The Nikon D60. This was my very first DSLR, I think around 18 years ago when I got it. I don't have that particular one anymore, but this D60 and the kit lens I bought a couple of years ago for under $100. And now the camera officially belongs to Elliot. He was interested in taking a camera on a hike recently, so I charged up the D60 and immediately it was like he was hooked. He's been playing around with Polaroid cameras for the last couple of years, but to see him using an actual DSLR, like a proper camera that he can control, and just seeing how he's taken to that, it's just been fun. When I was a kid, I was always interested in cameras before I even had my own. I took photography for a 4-H project. It was just something I was always interested in, but I didn't have any sort of influence, I guess, of a photographer in my life. I didn't know any photographers. There weren't any photography classes at the school that I went to, so it was just not something that was nearly as accessible. I've talked about it before. I've never wanted to push a camera on him or tell him he should be a photographer just because I'm a photographer, but he's taken interest in it just in his own time and at his own pace. So to see him at this stage of it right now, it's just been a lot of fun. So the DJI kit that I have is the Osmo Pocket 3, the Mic 2, and the Action 5. This kit, this whole ecosystem, the cameras themselves, I don't think are the cameras I would prefer to use, but the convenience of the cameras and the whole system together, they just serve a very niche purpose extremely well. You can shoot these things in full manual and get incredible results out of it and really dial it in as customized as you'd like. However, if you just use them sort of how they're meant to be designed, as these small, compact, ready to just turn on and shoot, leaving them in full auto, not worrying about the shutter speed and doubling your frame rate, not worrying about any of that stuff, and just, they're really tough to beat. And I've tried to use my phone instead of, a dedicated camera, whether it be for just recording behind the scenes stuff or recording YouTube videos. And maybe if I had a separate dedicated phone for that, I would actually use it more. But when I'm trying to work, the last thing I want is to have my means of communication in case, my family needs something, or dealing with notifications. It's I don't like using a phone. I like having a dedicated camera. And again, I don't think the two DJI cameras that I use. I think for me, a small, pocketable, like point and shoot style body with a zoom lens automatically will connect to the mic too, just like the other cameras. That's another just huge perk of that system, is just turning the mic on. It automatically connects every single time. You can just click the little sync button in order to start and stop recording, so you don't actually have to physically be near the camera or use the camera that way. But I think if DJI made a camera in that form factor, I think that could really be pretty attractive to a lot of people. I don't always want to be using a gimbal like on the Osmo Pocket 3. I don't always want to be using a fisheye lens, even with the crop, which it looks better than I thought it would. I don't always want to be doing that. Some of the Sony and Canon point and shoot cameras that are meant for like vlogging and content creation and just, having a small pocketable camera, I think DJI could make something great with that. If you didn't see it, I made a video about the Nikon Z8 and just my time with it so far. I've been using it for close to a full year, and I've also recently been trying out the Z6 III, which I've already sent back to Nikon, so getting more familiar with that system. The response to the Z8 video was really great. The views, it's hilarious how clearly every time I make a gear video, when I'd think, I don't feel like I'm adding anything, I don't think anybody wants to watch this, views are always way up, so appreciate all of you. I got a lot of comments on that video about the Nikon ZF and saying that I should try that camera considering I love the Nikon FM2. And I have tried the camera out, but I don't think I gave it enough time. I just got to try it for a couple of hours when a friend had rented one. In those 2 hours, I thought, I really don't like the way this camera feels in the hand. And that was my main takeaway from it. I just didn't like how the camera felt. And one thing I love about the Nikon Z8 that I talked about in that video is the grip. And the ZF, there is no grip whatsoever. It launched with a grip, so that to me immediately I was like, oh, okay, so it's already going to be a problem. Not for everybody, obviously. I feel like if I say cross things about the ZF, people are going to come for me. It's developed seemingly a cult following in very short time, but maybe for good reason. If I did have a grip on the camera, I would probably have a much different takeaway from it. So now that I've got the Z6 III back to Nikon, I am going to try and see if I can get a ZF loan because I am really curious about it, and I'd love to share just my thoughts after having spent some time with it because that seems to be the #1 request at the moment. But the Z system in general, I've been just really happy with, both for photo and video for the work that I'm doing lately. And for work, I've been basically using this bag right here. This is the 20-liter backpack from K&F CONCEPT, the sponsor of this video. They sent me this backpack earlier this year, and all summer long this has been my work bag. So whether it's a photo or video job that I'm on, being able to take all of my equipment as well as my computer in here, this has been the bag that I've been using. Again, it's a 20-liter capacity. It's designed to fit one camera plus 4 lenses and accessories or a drone. Me personally, I've got my Nikon system, my Polaroid, my Leica M6, my film, microphones, monitors. Again, as I use this bag for different jobs, it's all customizable, so I just make it fit for whatever needs I have that day. The back of the camera bag fully unzips to have access to all of your gear, but you also have a side access door as well. So your main camera, keeping it in that compartment, you can easily just access it while you're wearing the bag. Thick padding on the back and the shoulder straps. It's a really comfortable bag, and again, it looks great. With the access to the gear in the back, you also have a nice protected top compartment. Great for keeping things like your chargers, hard drives, phone, keys, that sort of stuff. You can check out this bag as well as other products from K&F CONCEPT through the link in the description. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this video. My last favorite for the summer that I want to share would be inspiration, and that comes from this community, actually. My Wednesday night live streams have become one of my favorite things to look forward to every single week. And lately, the zines and books and prints that people have been sending in that they've been making have been really, really inspiring. I'm always looking for zines to pick up, and I have friends who are constantly putting out new zines and new work, and it's just an ongoing source of inspiration. And to see people who engage with this channel and are in the live streams every week and then sharing their own work through the live streams and all of us seeing it together, it's just been great. I'm a big fan of self-publishing, obviously, so to see more and more people who are doing it, especially for the first time. It's just really, really encouraging. And even all these years, that's the kind of stuff that gets me the most excited about photography. Those are just some summer favorites, things that have been going on in photography and life lately, the positives at least. Our sweet little Rusi, also known as Rucifer around the house. Rusi was 11 years old, and we just said goodbye to her a couple of weeks ago. If you've watched this channel for any considerable amount of time, you've probably seen Rusi, whether it be pictures of her or videos of her. She was at our wedding. She was there for, each of our kids as soon as we brought them home when they were born. Yeah, it's just been, it's been tough. This is the first time I've ever lost a dog. My first dog is Taker, and he's still alive. So to make matters even more chaotic, like 2 days after Rusi passed away, Strawberry disappeared. Little trash cat that we found eating our garbage one night 7.5 years ago, all of a sudden was just gone and disappeared, and we could not find her anywhere, and we thought she's gone. She was gone for, I think, a total of 5 days, and then she came home. I don't know how exactly or when or why she ran out, because she never does that. She's very much an indoor girl, but she's back. We thought we literally went from 4 pets to 2 in the matter of like 2 days, but there's also some wild flooding like along the creek, along the backside of our house and just right outside the barn. Thankfully, it didn't make it all the way up here, but it was getting pretty close. So the ditch back there has been dug out, and that problem has been solved. Yeah, that last little stint of summer just seemed like all hell was breaking loose, but we're through it, I think. Regardless, it feels good to be catching up with you, so I hope you enjoyed this video, me just kind of sharing what I've been up to and some of my favorites from the summer. If you have any questions or thoughts, anything you want to add to the conversation, we'll keep it going in the comments down below. But that's it for today. So thank you all for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.